I'll never forget the way my sister looked when she burst into my room that night. Her face was pale, her chest heaving like she had sprinted through the whole house, and her wide, glassy eyes locked onto me as if I was the one in danger. "Who just texted you?" she demanded, her voice sharp, panicked, almost cracking. I blinked, startled, my phone still glowing in my hand. "What are you talking about? It was Mom. She just asked if I was okay." But Lila shook her head violently, her hands trembling as she pointed at the screen. Her voice dropped into a whisper, one that made the hairs on the back of my neck rise. "That's not Mom's number." For a moment, I didn't move. I just stared at her, at the fear radiating off her like heat, and I felt something cold twist inside me. Because Lila wasn't the type to overreact. If anything, she was the one always teasing me for worrying too much. But that night, it was different. That night, she looked like she'd seen a ghost. I should back up. My name is Harper Lane. I'm 21, the older sister in this house, and I've always been the one people leaned on to keep things steady. I'm practical, logical, the one who tells everyone else to calm down when life gets messy. My mom calls me her little anchor. I never imagined I'd be the one staring at my phone, unable to breathe, while my little sister told me that the person pretending to be our mom was watching us. Lila is 16. She's my opposite in every way. Fiery, emotional, quick to pick up on things I sometimes overlook. Where I dismiss the strange creaks of the house as old wood, she insists someone's outside. Where I scroll mindlessly through my phone, she notices the flicker of headlights pulling too slowly down the street. Sometimes I roll my eyes at her instincts, but deep down, I know she's sharp. Too sharp for her own good. That night, Mom was working the overnight shift at the hospital, something she's done for years. She's a nurse. Tough, loving, always tired, but still trying to hold our family together. Dad was gone too, driving cross-country in his rig, calling us every evening to check in. That left just me and Lila at home, like countless other nights. Normally, it felt safe, almost comforting, the two of us in our bubble. But this time, with one strange text, the bubble felt like it was about to burst. I looked back at my phone. The message was simple, just 5 words. "Where are you? Are you safe?" It sat there, stark against the screen, and something about it didn't feel right anymore. "I told you," I muttered, trying to sound calm even though my pulse was pounding in my ears. "It's from Mom. She probably just wanted to check in." But Lila shook her head again, her hair whipping across her face. "No, Harper, look at the number. That's not her. That's not the contact she uses. I swear it's not." She grabbed her own phone, scrolling frantically, and held it up, next to mine. 2 different numbers, 2 different moms. For a second, my stomach dropped. I tried to laugh it off, though it came out weak. "Okay, maybe she just got a new work phone or something. You're freaking out over nothing." But Lila's voice cracked when she said it again, softer this time, like a confession. "It's not her, it's someone else." That's when the second message came in. "Don't reply, just listen." Lila's face went white, and all the blood seemed to drain from mine, too. My hands shook as I held the phone tighter, the glow of the screen suddenly feeling like it was burning into me. "Harper," she whispered, clutching my arm. "What if they know we're here?" Her words sank into me like ice water. Suddenly, the quiet of the house wasn't comforting anymore. It was suffocating. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant bark of a dog outside, every hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, it all felt sinister, amplified, like the whole world was holding its breath. That was the exact moment I realized this wasn't just a weird prank or some glitch in the phone. This was the beginning of something I wasn't prepared for, something that would tear apart everything I thought I knew about being the strong, steady one. Because if my sister was right, and if those texts weren't from Mom, then someone out there already knew too much about us, and they weren't going to stop. I should tell you what life in our house was like before that night, before the text that changed everything. Because if you don't know us, if you don't understand the way things usually were, then you won't understand just how wrong it all felt when everything shifted. Our house isn't fancy. It's a 2-story cream-colored place with paint peeling off the porch railing and a yard that never looks quite as green as the neighbors. But it's home. It's where Mom raised us while Dad was on the road, and it's where me and Lila grew up learning each other's rhythms, The laughter, the arguments, the whispered secrets late at night. I'm Harper Lane, 21, and if you asked anyone who knew us, they'd say I was the dependable one. The one who held things together when Mom came home bone-tired from her shifts or when Dad missed another birthday because of his trucking routes. I worked evenings at a coffee shop near campus, saved every dollar I could, and made sure Lila's homework was done before she disappeared into whatever latest TikTok obsession she had. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. And then there was Lila, my sister. 16, restless, dramatic in ways only a younger sister could be. But beneath all that, she's sharp. Too sharp sometimes. She notices details I skim past, the little things. The flicker of headlights that stall outside our house too long. The creak in the hallway at 2 a.m. when I'm sure no one's up. She has this way of looking at the world like it's hiding secrets from her, and maybe that's why, when she told me that number wasn't Mom's, I believed her more than I wanted to admit. Mom, Rebecca Lane, is the glue. She's 45, a nurse who's spent years working double shifts to keep us afloat. She's warm, quick with a hug, but exhaustion sits on her shoulders like a permanent weight. Most nights when she's on duty, we barely hear from her. A short check-in text, maybe a call if she has time. That's what made the fake mom messages so believable at first. They sounded exactly like something she would say, caring but short, as if typed in a stolen break between patients. And Dad, Michael Lane, is the ghost of the house. Not because he isn't around, but because when he is, it's fleeting. His job as a truck driver keeps him on the road more than at the dinner table. We love him. And when he calls, he always promises he'll be home next week. But next week stretches like an endless loop. That night, he was 3 states away hauling freight through Ohio, his voice crackling over the phone earlier that evening when he told us, "Keep the doors locked. Don't give your mom too much trouble." It was just me and Lila that night, 2 sisters in a too quiet house. Normally, we'd settle into our own little routines when Mom was at work and Dad was gone. I'd crawl into bed with a book or scroll through Instagram until I fell asleep, and Lila would either be blasting music in her room or sneaking into mine to complain about some friend drama. It felt safe, normal, even a little cozy, like the house was ours alone. But there was something different about that night, something I hadn't noticed until it was too late. The silence felt heavier. The hum of the refrigerator sounded too loud. Even the wind against the windows made me glance over my shoulder. Looking back, maybe I sensed it, the way animals sense a storm before it breaks. Lila told me once that she hated nights when both Mom and Dad were gone. "It's too empty," she said, "like we're the only ones alive." I brushed it off, told her she watched too many scary movies, but maybe she was right, because that's exactly how it felt. And when the text came through, those 5 words, "Where are you? Are you safe?" I didn't question it at first. Of course, it was Mom. Who else would care enough to check in like that? I didn't think about the number. I didn't think about how Mom never started a conversation that way, never used that exact phrasing. I just thought, that's her. She's watching out for us, like always. It wasn't until Lila burst into my room, her face drained of color, that I realized how easily I could have been wrong. Our family wasn't perfect. We argued, we stressed about bills, we worried about Dad on the road and Mom overworking herself. But we trusted each other. We trusted the little routines, the nightly calls, the texts that reminded us someone was out there watching our backs. And the moment that trust cracked, the moment a stranger slipped into our lives using my mother's name, that's when the whole world tilted. Because if you can't trust the voice or the number or the words of the people you love the most, then what's left? That night, I was about to find out. The first message had been strange, but it was the second one that made my stomach turn. Don't reply, just listen. I remember staring at those words, the blue light of the screen washing over my face, and feeling this prickling sensation crawl across my skin. The room, my safe, familiar space, suddenly didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt invaded, like someone else was there, watching, even though we were supposed to be alone. Lila was frozen at the edge of my bed, her hands clenched into fists, her eyes darting from me to the door like she expected it to fly open at any second. "Harper," she whispered, her voice shaking. "That's not Mom. Please tell me you see that now." I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that this was just a glitch, or maybe Mom got a new phone and forgot to tell us. But the truth was gnawing at me. The words in the message didn't sound like my mom anymore. They sounded calculated, cold. I typed back anyway. "Who is this?" Almost immediately, the reply came. "It doesn't matter. You're not safe with her." I blinked at the screen, rereading it. My pulse thudded in my ears. "With who?" I muttered aloud, confused. Lila leaned closer, her voice dropping even lower, like the walls themselves might be listening. "Harper, what if they mean me?" That thought hadn't even crossed my mind, but the way her words hung heavy in the room, it suddenly seemed possible. The message wasn't just creepy, it was divisive, like someone wanted to wedge fear between us. I shook my head. No, that doesn't make sense. Why would someone... But before I could finish, another message appeared. "Don't trust the person next to you." Lila gasped and backed away, her face pale. I could feel the heat rising in my chest, anger and fear tangling together. I stood up and shouted into the empty air. "This isn't funny! Who the hell are you?" Silence. For a moment, the only sound was my own breathing. Then another vibration buzzed in my hand. "You're wasting time. Lock the door." That was when the house itself started to feel hostile. I looked at my bedroom door, thin wood separating us from the hallway, and suddenly it felt like paper. Lila reached out and twisted the lock with shaking hands. The tiny click seemed louder than it should have been. "Should we call Mom?" she asked, her voice trembling. I nodded quickly, pressing Mom's real contact and holding the phone to my ear. It rang and rang before she picked up, her voice exhausted, background noise of beeping machines behind her. "Harper? Is everything okay? It's late." I swallowed hard. "Mom, did you text me tonight? From a new number." A pause. "No, honey, why? Did something happen?" I exchanged a glance with Lila, whose eyes were wide with vindication and fear. I lowered my voice. "Someone's pretending to be you. They keep texting me, telling us we're not safe." Her voice sharpened instantly. "Listen to me. Lock the doors, lock the windows. Don't open for anyone until I get there." "But you're at work." "I'll call the police from here." She cut in. "Stay calm. Stay together." When the call ended, I felt a flicker of relief. At least she believed us. At least someone else knew. But the texts didn't stop. Another one appeared. "Too late, they're already inside." The words made my blood run cold. Lila whimpered softly, curling into herself like she wanted to disappear. I gripped the baseball bat Dad always kept by my dresser, its weight both reassuring and terrifying in my hands. "We're okay," I said, mostly to myself, though my voice didn't sound convincing. "They're just trying to scare us." But then came the next text, and this one shattered the thin barrier of comfort I had been clinging to. "Why is she holding a bat?" My hands went numb. The phone slipped slightly in my grip, and I almost dropped it. "They can see us," Lila whispered, her voice cracking. "Harper, they can see us right now." We both turned slowly, scanning the room, the window, the hallway shadows. My heart hammered so loudly I swore it echoed in the walls. I lunged toward the blinds and yanked them shut, though outside, the darkness pressed against the glass like a living thing. "Stay away from the window," I ordered, my voice firmer now, even though terror was clawing at my throat. Every creak of the old house, every groan of the settling wood, suddenly sounded like footsteps. Every shadow seemed to stretch too long, as if someone else was hiding just beyond our sight. And the messages kept coming, each one shorter, crueler, more invasive. "You can't hide." "She's not who you think she is." "I'm already in the house." Each vibration rattled me to the core. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, to shatter it into silence, but I couldn't, because part of me was terrified that if I stopped reading, I'd miss the one warning that might save us. And all the while, Lila clung to me, her eyes begging me for answers I didn't have. That was the night I stopped being the calm, logical sister. Because logic meant nothing when someone was watching us, texting us from inside the darkness, and knowing exactly what we were doing. Fear has a way of making time slow down. Seconds feel like minutes, and every choice feels like the difference between life and death. That's what it felt like as I stared down at the glowing screen, reading the last message over and over. Why is she holding a bat? I wanted to scream, to throw the phone away and pretend none of it was happening, but Lila's wide, terrified eyes kept me rooted in reality. She was looking at me the way she used to look at Dad when a thunderstorm shook the house, like I was supposed to know what to do, supposed to keep her safe. And that was the moment I realized I couldn't just wait for help. Mom wasn't here. Dad wasn't here. It was just me and Lila. If someone was really inside, or even watching from outside, it was on me to act. "Okay," I said firmly, gripping the bat tighter. "We're not going to panic. We're going to be smart." Lila swallowed hard. Smart like calling the cops? I hesitated. Mom said she'd call them. "What if it takes too long?" she shot back. "What if they're all ready?" I cut her off, pressing a finger to my lips. "Shh." The last thing we needed was to sound afraid. If someone really was inside, I wasn't about to let them hear it. I took a deep breath and forced myself to think clearly. Step 1. Secure the house. "Come on," I whispered, nudging Lila toward the door. Her eyes widened. "You're not leaving the room, are you?" "We have to. We can't just sit here and wait." She looked like she wanted to argue, but finally nodded, clutching my arm as I unlocked the bedroom door. The hallway stretched ahead of us, dim and quiet, shadows dancing from the faint glow of the streetlight outside. Every floorboard creaked under our weight as we moved. I led her first to the back door. The lock was still bolted, the chain still in place. I tugged at it twice just to be sure. Then the windows, one by the kitchen, another by the living room. I pressed each frame, rattled the glass, checking for signs they'd been tampered with. Nothing. Still, that didn't ease the icy feeling in my stomach. The phone buzzed again in my hand. I didn't want to look, but I had to. Checking the windows won't help. I froze. My blood went cold. Whoever it was, they knew exactly what we were doing. "Harper," Lila whispered, her nails digging into my arm. "They're watching us, I told you." I swallowed hard, fighting the urge to run upstairs and hide under the covers. Instead, I guided her back into the living room, away from the exposed windows. Step 2, reach out for help again. I dialed Dad this time. His voice crackled through the line, rough and tired. "Harper, it's late. Everything okay?" I tried to keep my voice steady, but it shook anyway. "Dad, someone's been texting us, pretending to be Mom. They know things. They said they're inside." There was a long silence. Then, "Harper, listen to me. Lock everything. Stay together. Don't open the door, no matter what. I'm turning the truck around. I'll be there as fast as I can." I wanted to beg him not to hang up, to stay on the line until he pulled into the driveway, but the call dropped. Service was always bad on the highway. That left us with only one option: prepare to defend ourselves. I walked back to the corner of the living room, where Dad always kept an old metal flashlight in the drawer. I handed it to Lila. "If anyone comes near you, swing it as hard as you can. Don't hesitate." She nodded, her lip trembling, but I could see the steel in her eyes, too. She wasn't just scared, she was ready. Another buzz, another message. It's too late to fight. I ignored it this time. That was step 3. Don't let them control me. If they wanted me to spiral into fear, I wasn't going to give them that satisfaction. Instead, I focused on what I could control. We turned off the lights in every room, leaving the house in darkness. Then we sat together on the floor of my bedroom, backs against the bed, the bat and flashlight clutched in our hands. The silence pressed down on us, broken only by the faint tick of the hallway clock. Finally, Lila whispered, "What if they're telling the truth? What if they are inside?" I didn't answer right away. I stared at the locked door, at the shadows creeping under the crack of light from the hallway, and I realized something. If we stayed frozen, paralyzed by fear, we'd already lost. The only way to survive was to stay alert, stay ready, and trust each other. I turned to her, my voice steady for the first time all night. "Then we'll be ready. No one gets past us. Not tonight." And as if on cue, a sharp, heavy knock echoed from the front door, shaking the walls of the house. The knock at the door wasn't polite. It wasn't tentative. It was sharp, heavy, deliberate. 3 pounding thuds that rattled through the wood and into my chest. Lila flinched, clutching the flashlight so tight her knuckles went white. I held the bat higher, forcing myself to breathe, forcing my heart not to explode in my ribcage. Then my phone buzzed. I didn't want to look. I really didn't. But my eyes slid down to the glowing screen anyway. "Don't open it." That's not me." My throat went dry. I stared at the words, bile rising in my stomach. Whoever this was, they knew exactly what was happening in real time. They knew someone was at our door. The knock came again, louder this time. Then a voice. "Harper, Lila, open up, it's me." My chest tightened. I knew that voice. "Grandpa?" I whispered. Lila shook her head violently. No, it's a trick." But the voice called again, weaker this time. "It's Grandpa. Please, girls, it's cold out here." My mind reeled. It sounded just like him. Thomas Lane, our grandpa, 68, kind and stubborn, who'd practically helped raise us when Mom and Dad were too busy working. He lived across town and he almost never visited at night. So why was he here now, knocking on our door in the dark? Lila grabbed my arm, whispering fiercely, "Don't. You saw the text. They said not to open it. That's not him." I crept toward the peephole, my bat trembling in my hand. My breath fogged the glass as I leaned close and looked. And there he was. Grandpa, standing on our porch, hunched against the cold, his thinning gray hair flattened by the wind. He looked tired, worn down, his old coat zipped up to his chin. He was really there. "It's him," I breathed. Relief washed over me like a wave, but then Lila yanked me back, her voice frantic. "Harper, think. If it's really him, how would the person texting you know to say that? How would they know he was at the door?" Her words cut through me. She was right. How could both things be true? Another buzz in my hand, another message. "If you open that door, you'll regret it." My pulse hammered. I was caught in the middle of a nightmare choice. Believe the man who'd held my hand when I was little, who taught me how to ride a bike, or believe the faceless voice warning me that danger was standing just outside. I swallowed hard and made a decision. I dialed Grandpa's number. The phone rang once, twice. Then, muffled through the door, I heard his ringtone, the same cheerful country tune he'd had for years, playing right there on our porch. Lila's grip loosened slightly, her mouth falling open. It is him." I pulled the door open a crack, the chain still fastened, and peered out. "Grandpa?" His eyes met mine, watery and tired. "Harper. Thank God. Let me in, sweetheart. I think someone followed me from the store." The air in my lungs turned to stone. "What do you mean?" I whispered. He shook his head, glancing over his shoulder into the dark yard. "I don't know. A car. Kept behind me all the way here. My phone died. I didn't know where else to go." Behind me, Lila's voice trembled. "Ask him if he texted you." I tightened my grip on the bat, my voice steady though my hands were shaking. "Grandpa, did you send me any messages, pretending to be Mom?" His brows knitted, confusion crossing his face. "What? No, why would I?" Another buzz in my hand, another message. "Don't believe him." My heart nearly stopped. I slammed the door shut again, the chain rattling, my back pressed against the wood as Lila cried out, "What are you doing?" "I don't know," I gasped. "I don't know what's real anymore." Grandpa's fists pounded on the door, desperation in his voice now. "Harper, let me in. Please, don't leave me out here." Lila was sobbing now, shaking her head. "It's him. It's really him. Harper, you can't just—" But the phone buzzed again. "He's lying. He's not alone." The blood drained from my face. I pressed my ear to the door, straining to listen. For a moment, all I could hear was Grandpa's pleading voice. Then faintly, almost too faint to notice, I heard it. Footsteps on the porch, not his heavy, uneven shuffle, but quicker, lighter, more than one set. "Harper," Lila whispered. "There's someone else out there." The room spun. My vision blurred. Whoever was texting us wasn't lying. Grandpa wasn't alone. And that was when the porch light flickered and went out. We were plunged into darkness. The knocking stopped. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. I pulled Lila close, clutching her with one arm and gripping the bat with the other. My voice shook as I whispered the only thing I could. "Stay quiet, stay ready." Because whatever was outside our door, it wasn't just Grandpa anymore. The silence after the porch light went out was unbearable. It pressed against my ears, thick and suffocating, like the whole world was holding its breath. I didn't dare move, neither did Lila. We just crouched there in the dark, clutching each other, waiting for the next sound, the next knock, the next text. My arms ached from holding the bat so tight, but I refused to loosen my grip. And then, slowly, The sound came. Not from the door this time, but from the side of the house. A faint shuffle of footsteps across the leaves, the scrape of something against the siding. Lila whimpered softly, her voice cracking. "They're trying to get in." I held her close, my heart pounding so loud I was sure they could hear it. The phone buzzed again in my hand, and I almost dropped it from the shock. "Don't make a sound. Wait." It felt like the longest 10 minutes of my life. Just sitting there in the dark, every muscle in my body locked in terror, listening to the sounds outside. Finally, faint sirens wailed in the distance. They grew louder, closer, until the glow of red and blue lights flashed through the blinds. Only then did the noises outside stop. Whoever had been there, if they were really there, was gone. The police came in with flashlights, their voices low but urgent as they swept through the house. They checked every door, every window. They even searched the yard and the street outside. But they found nothing. No footprints, no broken locks, no strangers waiting in the shadows. Just my grandfather, sitting on the porch steps, his face pale and shaken. When we finally unchained the door, I rushed out to him, tears stinging my eyes. "Grandpa, I'm so sorry. I didn't know if I could trust." He shook his head, his voice gravelly but gentle. "You did the right thing, Harper. Better safe than sorry." The police questioned him, and he explained again what had happened. The strange car following him from the grocery store, how he'd gotten nervous and come to us when his phone died. They nodded but didn't look convinced. There was no car waiting when they arrived, no proof of anyone else being out there. And the texts? They couldn't trace them. They told us spoofing numbers happens all the time. Maybe it was a cruel prank. Maybe a scammer who got too personal. But how they knew what we were doing in the house, that no one could explain. By the time the police left, it was nearly dawn. The first sliver of sunlight was bleeding across the horizon, turning the sky a dull gray blue. The house felt heavy, exhausted, as if it had survived the night right along with us. Grandpa stayed until Mom rushed home, panic written all over her face. She pulled me and Lila into her arms, whispering, "I'm so sorry I wasn't here. I'm so sorry you went through this." But as much as I wanted her comfort to fix everything, it couldn't erase the images burned into my mind. The glowing phone screen, the messages that knew too much, the sound of footsteps outside our walls. For days, I jumped at every creak in the house. For weeks, Lila refused to sleep in her own room, curling up beside me at night like she used to when we were little. And though Dad came home as fast as he could, carrying us both into his arms and promising, "Nothing's going to happen to you again," I knew better. Promises can't stop unknown numbers. Promises can't stop the chill that runs through your spine when your phone buzzes in the middle of the night. Because the truth is, we never got answers. No one was arrested. The texts stopped as suddenly as they had started. And that made it worse. At least if it had been a prank, if someone had been caught, there would have been closure. But this was just silence. And silence leaves space for fear to grow. What I learned that night wasn't something I ever wanted to know. I learned that safety is fragile, that trust can be broken with just one message, that the people who love you the most can't always protect you, not when the danger doesn't play by rules you understand. Most of all, I learned to listen to my sister's instincts, to listen to my own gut. Because if I had kept brushing off the signs, if I had ignored her warnings, I don't know if we'd still be here to tell this story. But here's the part that still haunts me, the part I never told Mom. 2 nights after it all ended, I was lying in bed, trying to convince myself I was safe. My phone lit up on the nightstand. My heart lurched as I reached for it, praying it was just a random notification. It wasn't. The screen showed a new message from an unknown number, just 5 words. "You can't block me." I stared at it for a long time, my hands trembling, before I turned the phone face down. Because deep down, I already knew the truth. Whatever had happened that night, it wasn't over. So that's the night my sister saved me from something I'll never fully understand. Maybe it was a stranger playing games. Maybe it was something darker. All I know is the text stopped, but the fear never really went away. If you were in my place, would you have opened the door? Or would you have trusted the messages? Tell me what you think in the comments. I really want to hear how you would have handled it. If this story gripped you, if it made your heart race even for a second, please give this video a like. It helps more people find the channel, and it lets me know you want more stories like this. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Because trust me, there are more nights like this one that you'll want to hear about. Stay safe out there. And remember, if your phone ever buzzes with a message that doesn't feel right, listen to your gut. It might save your life.